The message arrived on a cold morning when the stars outside the window looked tired and dim. Ho sat alone in his small apartment on Earth Station 9. He was 52 years old. His hair had turned gray long ago. His hands were rough from years of work. He had been a soldier once, a combat engineer in the Galactic Defense Corps. Now he was just a retired man living on a pension that barely paid for food. He read the message 3 times to make sure he understood it correctly. His uncle was dead. The old man had lived alone on the edge of known space for decades. Ho barely remembered him, just a face from childhood, a quiet man who never smiled much. But the message said something else too. His uncle had left him something, an inheritance, a place called Outpost Sigma 7. Ho had never heard of it. The door to his apartment slid open. His daughter walked in carrying a bag of tools. Grease covered her hands and there was a smudge on her cheek. Yina was 19 years old. She had her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn nature. She worked as a mechanic in the station's lower docks. It was hard work for little money, but she never complained. "You look strange," she said. "What happened?" Ho handed her the message. She read it while standing in the middle of the room. Her eyebrows rose higher with each line. "An outpost, a whole space station," she looked at him. "Is this real?" "It seems real," Ho said. "We need to go to the Galactic Trade Council to register the inheritance, make it official." Yina laughed. It was not a happy laugh. "The council, father, do you know how they treat humans there?" He knew. Everyone knew. Humanity had joined the Galactic Union 300 years ago. They had found alien technology floating in space and used it to reach the stars. But the other species never let them forget that humans were late arrivals, newcomers, junior members who should be grateful they were allowed to exist at all. The called human scavengers. The said humans were clever animals who learned to copy their betters. The Dominion simply ignored humans altogether, as if they were not worth noticing. "We have no choice," Ho said. "If we want this outpost, we must register it properly." 2 days later, they stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Trade Council. The hall was massive. The ceiling rose so high that clouds actually formed near the top. Thousands of beings moved through the space, tall with their blue skin and 4 arms, small with their clicking languages. Dominion representatives who floated in gravity spheres because they could not survive in normal air. And humans, a few humans here and there, always walking with their heads down, always trying not to take up too much space. Ho and Yina waited in line for 6 hours. When they finally reached the registration desk, the official barely looked at them. He was with cold, yellow eyes. "What do you want?" he asked. "I am here to register an inheritance," Ho said. He kept his voice calm and polite. "Outpost Sigma 7. It belonged to my uncle." The official typed something into his console. He stared at the screen. Then he made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Sigma 7, that old wreck." He raised his voice so others nearby could hear. "This human is inheriting a garbage pile." Heads turned. Other officials stopped working to watch. Ho felt his daughter tense beside him, but he put a hand on her arm to keep her still. The commotion attracted attention. A tall figure approached the desk. His uniform was covered with medals and symbols of rank. Admiral L, one of the most powerful military commanders in the fleet. Ho recognized him from news broadcasts. "What is this noise?" L demanded. The official bowed deeply. "Admiral, this human claims to own Outpost Sigma 7. L looked at Ho the way someone might look at an insect. "Sigma 7, that pile of rust floating in dead space," he laughed loudly. "Of course a human would inherit garbage. That is all your kind is good for, picking through the trash that real species leave behind." Other aliens in the hall laughed too. The sound echoed off the high walls. Yina stepped forward. Her hands were clenched into fists. "That outpost was built by human engineers. It served the Union for decades before it was abandoned. Show some respect. Elle's eyes narrowed. Respect for humans. He leaned close to her face. Your species has been in space for 300 years and you have contributed nothing. You copy our technology. You live in stations we designed. You fly ships based on engines we invented. Without us, you would still be crawling in the dirt on your little planet. That is not true, Yina said. Be silent, child. Elle waved his hand dismissively. Take your inheritance, take that worthless station. It suits you perfectly. A forgotten outpost for a forgotten species. He walked away laughing. The crowd parted to let him pass. The other aliens returned to their business, still chuckling among themselves. A woman approached them. She was human. Her name tag said Counselor Ha. She served as humanity's representative on the Trade Council. Her face looked tired and sad. I am sorry, she said quietly. I tried to speak up, but they do not listen to me. They never listen. Ho nodded. It is not your fault. The paperwork is complete, Ha said. Outpost Sigma 7 is officially yours, for what it is worth. She paused. The station has been abandoned for 200 years. No one has visited it in living memory. The sector is classified as resource poor. There is nothing there but empty space and a dying star. Then why did my uncle stay there? Ho asked. Ha shook her head. I do not know. The records say he lived there alone for 40 years. No visitors, no communications, just him and that old station. She looked at them with something like pity. I hope you find whatever you are looking for. They left the hall in silence. Yina's face was red with anger. She had grown up hearing stories about alien prejudice, but experiencing it directly was different. It burned in a way that words could not describe. How can you be so calm? She asked her father as they walked back to their ship. They insulted us. They insulted our whole species. Ho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was steady. Let them laugh, he said. Let them call us scavengers and garbage collectors. Words cannot hurt us unless we let them. He put his hand on his daughter's shoulder. We will go to this outpost. We will see what my uncle left behind, and then we will decide what it is truly worth. Yina looked at her father. She saw something in his eyes. Not anger, not fear, something else. Something patient and strong. You think there is more to this station than they know, she said. Ho almost smiled. I think my uncle spent 40 years alone in dead space for a reason, and I think the Admiral would not laugh so loud if he knew what that reason was. They boarded their small ship. It was old and patched in many places. The engine made strange noises. The navigation system was 20 years out of date, but it flew and it was theirs. As they lifted off and set course for the edge of known space, Yina looked back at the Trade Council station shrinking behind them. One day, she said quietly, they will not laugh at us anymore. Ho said nothing. He simply guided the ship toward the stars, toward a forgotten outpost, toward whatever secrets waited in the darkness. The journey would take 3 weeks. He had time to prepare. Time to remember the stories his uncle used to tell when Ho was just a boy. Stories about the old days. Stories about what humanity could do when no one was watching. Stories that the galaxy had forgotten. But Ho remembered, and soon his daughter would understand why. The dying star filled the viewport with pale orange light. Yina had never seen anything so lonely. The star was old and tired. It gave off just enough heat to keep the nearby space from freezing completely, but nothing more. No planets circled it. No asteroids drifted in its gravity. Just empty darkness in every direction. And there, floating in that darkness, was Outpost Sigma 7. The station was bigger than she expected. Much bigger. The official records said it was a small research post, maybe enough room for 50 people. But what she saw through the viewport could hold 500 easily, maybe more. The structure was shaped like a giant wheel with 3 spokes connecting to a central hub. Solar panels stretched out from every surface, most of them broken or bent. The hull was with small impacts from space debris. Lights flickered weakly in a few windows, but most of the station was dark. "It looks dead," Yina said. Ho studied the station carefully. "Not dead, sleeping." They guided their small ship toward the main docking port. The connection was rough. The old mechanisms groaned and complained, but they held. Air hissed as the pressure equalized between the ship and the station. Ho was the first to step through the airlock. He carried a flashlight and a small toolkit. Yina followed with her bag of repair equipment. The corridor beyond was cold and dusty. Their breath made small clouds in the air. Emergency lights flickered on as they walked, red and dim, barely enough to see by. The floor was covered with a thin layer of dust that showed no footprints. No one had walked here in a very long time. "The air is thin but breathable," Yina said, checking her scanner. "Life support is running on minimum power. The reactor must still be working somehow." They moved deeper into the station. The corridors were wider than standard designs. The ceilings were higher. Everything was built on a scale that seemed unnecessary for a simple research outpost. Ho stopped at a junction where 4 corridors met. Old signs on the walls pointed toward different sections: living quarters, medical bay, engineering, and one sign that was damaged, the words burned away by something. "This way," he said, heading toward engineering. The engineering section was at the heart of the station. They found the main reactor room behind a heavy blast door that took both of them to push open. Inside, machines hummed quietly in the darkness. Old computer terminals lined the walls, their screens blank. Yina found the main power console. She wiped dust from the controls and began working. Her fingers moved quickly across the interface. After a few minutes, lights began to brighten throughout the room. A speaker crackled somewhere above them. A voice emerged, broken and distorted. "Come to Outpost Sigma 7. Yina jumped back. What was that? Ho looked up at the ceiling. "The station AI, I think." "I am HANA," the voice continued. It sounded female but heavily damaged. Words came in fragments interrupted by static. "Station, management, system. How long have I been sleeping?" 200 years, Ho said. "Can you tell us about this station?" Static filled the air for several seconds. "Memory, corrupted, many files, lost. I remember, people, families, children playing. Then orders came, evacuation. Everyone left, but I stayed. I always stay." Yina felt sadness in the broken voice. This AI had been alone in the dark for 2 centuries, waiting for someone to return. "We are here now," she said gently. "We will fix you." "Fix me?" HANA's voice seemed surprised. No one ever offered before. They spent the next several hours exploring the station. What they found amazed them. The official record said Sigma 7 was built for 50 crew members, but they found living quarters for 300. Not military bunks, but real apartments with bedrooms and kitchens and space for families. In one apartment, Yina found photographs still hanging on the wall. A man and woman smiling at the camera. 2 children playing in what looked like a garden. Happy faces from a time long forgotten. "People lived here," she said. "Real families. This was not just a military post." Ho nodded slowly. This was a community. They found a schoolroom with small desks and children's drawings still pinned to the walls. A medical center with equipment more advanced than anything Yina had seen on Earth Station 9. A recreation area with games and exercise machines, and a small theater. But they also found the sealed sections. Throughout the station, certain corridors ended in massive blast doors. These were not normal doors. They were built to withstand weapons fire. The locks were complex, requiring codes that had been lost centuries ago. "Why would a research station need doors this strong?" Yina asked. "To protect something," Ho said quietly. "Something important." They returned to the reactor room. HANA's voice was a little clearer now that more power flowed through her systems. I can see. You are working hard, HANA said. Thank you, it has been so quiet. Yina climbed into the reactor housing and began replacing damaged components. The work was difficult. Many parts were custom designs she had never seen before, but she was good at her job, and slowly the reactor responded to her repairs. HANA, Ho asked, what is behind the sealed doors? Silence, then static. When HANA spoke again, her voice was different, lower, more careful. Level 12 contains classified materials I am not authorized to explain. Classified by whom? By the humans who built me, they said. Someday someone would come, someone who needed to know, but the codes, I do not remember the codes. Yina poked her head out from the reactor housing. Then we will have to break through ourselves. If we can get enough power running, we might be able to force the doors. That night, they made camp in one of the old apartments. The heating system was working again, and Yina had repaired enough lights to push back the darkness. They ate ration bars from their ship and drank recycled water that tasted slightly metallic. Father, Yina said, who was uncle really? What did he do here for 40 years? Ho was quiet for a long time. When I was young, he told me stories. He said that humans used to have technology of their own, before we met the other species, before the Galactic Union told us how things should be done. I learned about that in school, the pre-contact era, but they said our technology was primitive, nothing compared to what the aliens had. That is what they say. Ho looked at his daughter with serious eyes, but my uncle believed something different. He believed that humans invented things the aliens did not want us to have, things that were taken away, hidden, forgotten. Yina felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air. And you think those things are here, on this station? I think my uncle spent 40 years guarding something, and I think the Galactic Union would be very unhappy if they knew what it was. While they talked, Yina did not notice a small light blinking on a console in the corner of the room. The distress beacon she had accidentally triggered during repairs had broadcast for 30 seconds before she shut it down. 30 seconds was enough. Somewhere far away, in a military outpost, a communications officer noticed an unusual signal. He ran the data through his computers and identified the source. Outpost Sigma 7. The worthless station that a human had just inherited. The officer filed a report. The report went up the chain of command. Eventually, it reached someone who recognized the name, someone who knew that Sigma 7 was not as worthless as everyone believed. Admiral L read the report in his private quarters. His yellow eyes narrowed. His 4 hands gripped the edges of his desk. So, he said quietly, the scavengers are poking around in places they should not be. He pressed a button on his console. Prepare 3 warships. We are going to conduct a safety inspection. Back on the station, HANA's damaged voice whispered through the speakers, so quiet that no one heard. Vaults level 12. Do not forget they are coming. They always come. But Ho and Yina were already asleep, dreaming of discoveries yet to be made. They did not know that their time was running out. They did not know that forces were already moving against them. They only knew that somewhere in this forgotten station, secrets waited to be found, secrets that could change everything. And in the morning, they would begin searching again. 5 days passed on Outpost Sigma 7. Yina worked from morning until night. She repaired power conduits and replaced broken circuits. She cleaned filters and calibrated sensors. Slowly, the station came back to life around her. Lights grew brighter. The air became warmer. Systems that had been silent for centuries began to hum with energy. HANA's voice grew clearer too. The AI remembered more with each passing day. She told them about the people who once lived here, scientists and engineers, families who had come to the edge of space to build something new. They were good people, HANA said. They worked hard. They believed in what they were doing. What were they doing? Yina asked. But HANA could not answer that question. Not yet. The memories were still locked away somewhere in her damaged systems. Ho spent his time mapping the station. He walked every corridor. He checked every room. He made notes about everything he found. And always he returned to the sealed blast doors, the barriers that hid level 12 from the rest of the station. On the sixth morning, Yi-Na made a breakthrough. She had been working on the main reactor all night. The old technology was strange but beautiful. It was different from anything she had learned in school, different from the standard designs that every species in the galaxy used. This was something unique, something human. "Father," she called over the communication system, "I think I have enough power now. Meet me at the level 12 access point." They stood together before the massive blast door. It was 3 meters thick, made from alloys that could withstand a direct hit from a ship's main cannon. Whatever was behind this door, someone had wanted to keep it very safe. "HANA," Ho said, "we are going to try to open the door. Can you help?" "I will try," HANA said, "but the security protocols, they are very strong. The people who built this wanted to make sure only the right person could enter." Yina connected her portable computer to the door's control panel. Numbers and codes scrolled across the screen. Most of them meant nothing to her, but some patterns looked familiar. "These encryption methods," she said slowly. "I have seen something like this before, in old textbooks about pre-contact human technology." She worked for hours. Ho brought her food and water, but she barely noticed. Her entire focus was on the puzzle before her, layer after layer of security. Code wrapped inside code. It was like solving a maze that existed only in numbers. Finally, near midnight, something clicked. The blast door let out a deep groaning sound. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights along the edges of the door changed from red to green. And slowly, so slowly, the massive barrier began to move. Cold air rushed out from the space beyond. Yina shivered. The temperature on the other side was much lower than the rest of the station. "Preservation atmosphere," HANA explained, "to protect what is stored inside." They stepped through the doorway into darkness. Ho's flashlight cut through the black, revealing shapes and shadows. Then the lights came on automatically, and they saw what level 12 truly contained. It was a vault, a massive underground chamber that stretched further than they could see. Rows of sealed containers lined the walls, each one marked with numbers and symbols. In the center of the room stood a platform holding something that glowed with soft blue light. Yina walked toward the platform in a daze. On it sat a cylinder about the size of her arm. Inside the cylinder, energy moved like liquid fire. Blue and gold and white, swirling together in patterns that seemed almost alive. "What is this?" she whispered. HANA's voice filled the chamber. "This is an ember core, the original human power source, developed before first contact, before the Union, before everything changed." Ho looked around the vault. There were hundreds of containers, maybe thousands. "Are all of these ember cores?" "Yes, 1,047 cores, plus complete research data, manufacturing blueprints, prototype applications." HANA paused. "This is everything, all the knowledge that was taken from humanity 300 years ago." Yina felt dizzy. She sat down on the cold floor and tried to understand what she was seeing. "Taken? What do you mean taken?" HANA told them the story. It took a long time. When humans first reached the stars, they had developed their own technology. The ember cores were at the heart of it. Clean energy, incredibly efficient, powerful enough to run cities or starships or anything else humans could imagine. But when the Galactic Union made contact, everything changed. The elder species saw what humans had created. They were afraid. Here was a young species, barely out of their home system, with technology that rivaled anything the Union had developed over thousands of years. The Union decided that humans were dangerous, too smart, too creative, too unpredictable. They could not be allowed to advance any further. So they made a deal. They would share their own technology with humanity. They would welcome humans into the galactic community. But in exchange, humans had to give up their original research. The Ember cores and everything related to them would be destroyed. The official story was that the technology was unstable, dangerous, that the Union was protecting humans from themselves. But that was a lie. Some humans refused to give up, HANA said. They hid what they could. They built this station in secret. They kept the truth alive even when the rest of humanity forgot. Ho understood now. His uncle had been one of the guardians. For 40 years, the old man had lived alone in this forgotten corner of space, protecting the knowledge that the galaxy had tried to erase. Why did they hide it? Yina asked. Why not fight back? The Union was too powerful, humans were too few, fighting would have meant extinction. HANA's voice was sad. So they waited. They passed the secret from generation to generation, and they hoped that someday the time would be right. Yi-Na stood up and walked among the rows of containers. Each one held enough power to change a world. Together, they held enough power to change the galaxy. Father, she said, this is proof. Proof that humans are not scavengers, proof that we created something amazing before anyone helped us. She turned to face him. This changes everything. Ho nodded slowly, but his face was serious. Yes, and that is why it is dangerous. He walked to a console near the entrance and activated a screen. Data scrolled past, showing records of the outside world, communication intercepts, sensor readings. Things that HANA had been collecting quietly while they explored. 3 ships, he said. Warships, they are heading toward us. They will arrive in less than 2 days. Yina felt cold fear grip her heart. How? How do they know we are here? The distress beacon, HANA said quietly. I am sorry, I should have warned you sooner, but my systems were damaged. By the time I understood what happened, it was too late. It had to be him, the admiral who had laughed at them in the council hall. He must have been watching, waiting for any sign that the station held something valuable. He will destroy this place, Yina said. He will destroy us and claim it was an accident. No one will ever know the truth. Ho looked at his daughter. Then he looked at the vault full of human achievement, the legacy of ancestors who had believed in their species even when no one else did. No, he said, I did not come this far to let the truth die in the darkness. He turned to HANA. This station has weapons, defense systems. I saw references in the old files. Yes, the main, designed for asteroid defense, but it requires enormous power, more than the reactor can currently provide. Ho looked at the Ember core glowing on its platform. What about that? Can we use it? HANA was silent for a long moment. Yes, one core could power the entire station at full capacity, including all weapons and shields. Another pause. But if you activate the core, every sensor in this sector will detect it. The whole galaxy will know what you have found. Good, Yina said suddenly. Let them know. Let everyone see what they tried to bury. Ho looked at his daughter with surprise. Then he smiled. It was the first real smile she had seen from him in years. You sound like your mother, he said. She never backed down from a fight either. He reached out and put his hand on the Ember core. The energy swirled beneath the glass, responding to his touch. Somehow it felt warm, welcoming, like it had been waiting for him. HANA, he said, tell us what we need to do. I will guide you, the AI replied. But you should know that once we begin, there is no going back. The galaxy will see what humanity truly is, and they will be afraid. Ho nodded. Let them be afraid, we have nothing left to lose. And in the vault beneath Outpost Sigma 7, surrounded by the forgotten dreams of their ancestors. A father and daughter prepared to fight for the truth. The warships appeared on the edge of sensor range, at exactly the time HANA had predicted. 3 destroyers moved in formation through the darkness. Their hulls were painted black and silver. Their weapons ports glowed with barely contained energy. Each ship was built for one purpose only: war. Admiral L stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, watching the distant speck that was Outpost Sigma 7. His yellow eyes reflected the light of distant stars. "Open a channel," he commanded. A communication officer obeyed. L waited until the connection was confirmed, then spoke in a voice that expected to be obeyed. "Attention, Outpost Sigma 7. This is Admiral L of the 3rd Fleet. We are conducting a safety inspection of your station. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded." On the station, Ho listened to the message with Yi-Na standing at his side. They had worked through the night preparing for this moment. His hands were burned from handling hot circuits. Her eyes were red from staring at screens. But they were ready. "HANA," Ho said, "how are our systems?" "Shields at 60% and rising. Main is offline but can be activated in 3 minutes. Secondary defenses are armed and ready." "And the Ember Core?" "Installed and stable, waiting for your command." Ho turned to his daughter. "Are you sure about this?" Yi-Na's jaw was set with determination. "You heard what HANA told us. If we surrender, L will claim the technology for himself. He will use it to make his people even more powerful, and humans will remain scavengers forever. If we fight, we might die." "Then we die telling the truth." She put her hand on his arm. "Mother would have wanted us to fight, you know she would." Ho thought of his wife. She had died 10 years ago, taken by a disease that alien medicine could have cured easily. But humans did not have access to the best treatments. They never did. His wife had died because the galaxy considered humans less important than others. He pressed the communication button. "Admiral L, this is Ho. We respectfully decline your inspection. Outpost Sigma 7 is human property, legally registered with the Galactic Trade Council. You have no authority here." Silence, then L's voice came back, cold with anger. "You dare refuse a direct order from an admiral. Do you understand what I can do to you?" "I understand perfectly. You can destroy this station and everyone on it. You can claim it was an accident or a malfunction, and no one will question you because no one cares about 2 humans on a worthless outpost." Another pause. "Then you understand your position. Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick." Ho smiled grimly. "Admiral, before you fire your weapons, there is something you should know." He nodded to Yi-Na. She entered a command into the main console. Deep in the station's core, the Ember Core activated. Energy exploded outward through every system. Lights blazed at full power. Shields hardened to maximum strength. The main, silent for 2 centuries, began to charge. And throughout the station, forgotten systems came alive with blue-gold light. On the bridge, every alarm sounded at once. Admiral and officer shouted. "Massive energy signature from the station. Power levels are impossible. They are reading higher than our entire fleet combined." L stared at his screens in disbelief. The worthless outpost was glowing like a small sun. Energy readings spiked beyond anything his instruments could measure. "What is this?" he demanded. Ho's voice came through the speakers, calm and clear. "This is human technology, Admiral. The technology your union told us to destroy 300 years ago. The technology you said was unstable and dangerous." A pause. "We kept it. We protected it. And now we are showing it to the entire galaxy." Throughout the sector, sensors detected the energy burst. Communication networks lit up with confused reports. Something impossible was happening at the edge of dead space. Something that everything the galaxy believed about humans. On the station, Ho broadcast on all channels. His voice reached every ship, every outpost, every world within range. To all who can hear this message, my name is Ho. I am human. I am standing on Outpost Sigma 7, a station built by human hands using human technology. What you are detecting is called an Ember Core. It was invented by humans before we ever met other species, and it was taken from us by those who feared what we might become. El's face twisted with rage. Fire, all ships fire now. The three destroyers opened fire together. Energy beams cut through space toward the station. Missiles launched from ports along their hulls, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The station's shields absorbed everything. Blue light rippled across the protective barrier. Explosions flared and died. When the light faded, Sigma 7 remained untouched. Impossible, El whispered. On the station, HANA reported status with something that sounded like pride. Shields holding at 92%. Minor fluctuations only. They cannot hurt us. Yina was laughing. Tears streamed down her face, but she was laughing. It works, Father, it actually works. El ordered another attack. Then another. His ships poured fire into the station for 10 full minutes. The shields never fell below 80%. Finally, Ho spoke again. Admiral, you have proven that you came here to destroy us. You have proven that you fear what we have found. And you have proven, to every species watching right now, that the Galactic Union has been lying about humanity for 3 centuries. He turned to a screen showing the controls. HANA had already calculated the targeting solution. 1 shot. That was all it would take. I could destroy your ships, Ho said. I could kill you and everyone under your command. That is what you would do in my position. That is what the Union has taught every species to do when they have power over others. He paused. But I am human, and humans are not what you think we are. He adjusted the targeting. Instead of the main hull, he aimed at the flagship's engine section. A precise hit, crippling but not lethal. Fire, he said quietly. The discharged. A beam of pure white light crossed the distance between the station and the fleet in less than a second. It struck El's ship exactly where Ho aimed. The engines exploded. Secondary systems failed. The destroyer went dark and began to drift. But no one died. Admiral, Ho broadcast, your ship is disabled, your crew is alive. You will drift here until rescue arrives. His voice hardened. Go home. Tell your masters what you have seen. Tell them that humans remember what was taken from us. And tell them that this time we choose mercy over revenge. The remaining 2 destroyers hesitated. Without their flagship, without their admiral's commands, they did not know what to do. Finally, they turned and retreated into hyperspace, leaving El stranded. On the bridge of the crippled destroyer, El screamed at the empty stars. He had come to crush 2 helpless humans. Instead, he had been humiliated before the entire galaxy. On the station, Yina collapsed into a chair. Her whole body was shaking. We did it, she said. Father, we actually did it. Ho stood at the viewport, watching the disabled warship drift in the darkness. He felt tired, so very tired. This is just the beginning, he said. The galaxy knows now. They will come. Some will want to talk, some will want to fight, some will want to steal what we have found. He turned to look at his daughter. Are you ready for what comes next? Yi-Na stood up. She walked to his side and looked out at the stars. Our ancestors built this technology. They protected it for 300 years. They passed it down through generations, waiting for the right moment. She took a deep breath. We are not going to let them down now. HANA's voice filled the room. I am receiving communications from across the sector. Human colonies, other species, the Galactic Trade Council, everyone wants to talk to you. Ho nodded slowly. Then we will talk, we will tell them the truth, and we will see who has the courage to listen. Outside, the dying star cast its pale light over a scene that would be remembered for centuries. A forgotten outpost, blazing with power that the galaxy had tried to bury. A crippled warship, proof that humans could fight and win. And two small figures standing at a window, father and daughter, looking toward a future that no one had expected. The universe would never be the same. 1 month later, the Great Hall of the Galactic Trade Council was filled beyond capacity. Beings from every corner of the galaxy had come to witness this moment, and Dominion representatives filled their usual places, but they were not alone anymore. Smaller species crowded the balconies. Observers from distant sectors lined the walls. News drones floated near the ceiling, broadcasting to billions of viewers across thousands of worlds. And at the center of it all, walking toward the main platform, were two humans. Ho had traded his worn clothes for something more formal. His gray hair was neatly combed. His back was straight despite his age. Beside him, Yina wore the simple uniform of a human engineer. She had refused anything fancier. She wanted everyone to see her for what she was, a working person, a mechanic, someone who built things with her hands. The whispers stopped as they reached the platform. Every eye in the hall focused on them. Counselor Ha rose from the human delegation seats. Her face was brighter than it had been a month ago. The sadness that Ho remembered was gone, replaced by something that looked like hope. The council recognizes Ho and Yina, Ha announced. They are here to address the assembly regarding the events at Outpost Sigma 7. From across the hall, a delegate stood up. Before they speak, I demand to know what happened to Admiral L. He was attacked without cause. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, but they stopped when a door at the side of the hall opened. Admiral L walked in. He was not in chains. He was not under guard, but his uniform bore no medals now. His rank insignia had been removed. He walked with his head down, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Admiral L has faced tribunal, Ha said calmly. The evidence was clear. He attacked a legally registered human station without authorization. He attempted to destroy evidence of historical importance, and he nearly started a war that would have cost millions of lives. She turned to face the delegation. Your own government has stripped him of rank and command. He is here today as a witness, nothing more. The delegate sat down slowly. No one spoke in L's defense. Ho stepped forward to the speaking platform. His voice was quiet, but the hall's systems carried it to every corner. 1 month ago, my daughter and I were mocked in this very hall. We were called scavengers, garbage collectors. We were told that humans had contributed nothing to the galaxy and never would. He paused and looked around the room. Thousands of faces stared back at him. I did not come here today to seek revenge for those words. I came to tell you the truth. He pressed a control on the platform. Behind him, a massive screen came to life. Images appeared. The vault beneath Sigma 7, the ember cores glowing with blue-gold light, technical diagrams and research data that HANA had recovered from corrupted files. 300 years ago, humans developed technology that was equal to anything the elder species had created. We did it alone. We did it without help, and we were told to destroy it because the Galactic Union was afraid of what we might become. Angry voices erupted from several delegations, denials, accusations, claims that the evidence was fake. Ho waited until they quieted. I have proof. Complete records from the era of first contact. Communications between Union officials discussing how to suppress human advancement. Orders to confiscate research. Instructions to spread the story that human technology was primitive and dangerous. He looked directly at the elder species delegations. Your ancestors feared us. Perhaps they had reason to. Humans are creative, unpredictable. We do not always follow the rules that others make, but fear is not a good reason to hold an entire species down. Yina stepped forward now. Her voice was stronger than her father's, young and fierce. The Ember core technology that powers our station is 10 times more efficient than standard galactic reactors. It is cleaner, safer, better in every way. She raised her chin. Humans invented this, and we were forced to forget that we ever did. A delegate rose. Even if what you say is true, what do you want? Compensation, apologies, war. Yi Na shook her head. We want none of those things. Ho stepped back and gestured for his daughter to continue. This was her moment, her future. Humanity has been treated as a junior species for 3 centuries, Yi Na said. We have been opportunities, respect, the chance to show what we can do. She took a deep breath. We could use this technology to make ourselves powerful. We could hoard it the way others hoarded knowledge from us. We could become exactly what you feared. She paused. But that is not what humans do. She pressed another control. New images appeared on the screen, technical specifications, manufacturing processes, complete blueprints for Ember core technology. We are releasing this information freely to every species in the galaxy. Anyone who wants it can have it. No payment required. No conditions attached. Shocked silence filled the hall. Then chaos erupted. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded explanations. Others accused the humans of some kind of trick. Ha called for order. It took several minutes to restore quiet. A Dominion representative floated forward in his gravity sphere. His species rarely spoke in public gatherings. When they did, everyone listened. You are giving away power, the Dominion said. Why? Yi Na smiled. Because power is not what makes a species great. My ancestors did not hide this technology to use as a weapon someday. They hid it so that the truth would survive, so that future generations would know that humans can create wonders. She looked at her father. He nodded slightly. We do not want to rule the galaxy, she continued. We want to be partners in it, equal partners who contribute alongside everyone else. The Ember core is our gift to all species, proof that when humans have something valuable, we share it. The hall was silent again, but this silence was different. It was the silence of beings thinking, reconsidering, seeing humanity in a new way. Over the following weeks, everything changed. The Galactic Union launched investigations into the suppression of human technology. Several high-ranking officials from the era of First Contact were exposed posthumously. Apologies were issued, though words could not undo centuries of prejudice. Humans were elevated to full partnership status in the Union. Their representatives gained equal voting rights. Human scientists were invited to collaborate with the greatest minds of other species. Human engineers found jobs at facilities that had rejected them before. And at Outpost Sigma 7, now renamed Station New Dawn, something remarkable happened. Ships arrived daily. Scientists from dozens of species came to study the Ember core technology. Engineers came to learn human manufacturing techniques. Historians came to piece together the true story of First Contact. The station that had been silent for 2 centuries now buzzed with activity and voices. Yi Na oversaw the engineering teams. She worked alongside mechanics and technicians and researchers from species she had never heard of before. For the first time in her life, she was judged only by her skills, not by her species. Ho spent his days answering questions about his uncle and the guardians who had protected the truth. He shared stories that had been passed down through his family for generations, stories that would now become part of galactic history. One evening, Yi Na finished repairing the last of HANA's damaged systems. The AI had been her constant companion throughout the past month. Now, finally, HANA was whole again. System restoration complete, HANA announced. Her voice was clear and warm, no more static, no more broken words. All functions operating at full capacity. Yi Na sat back in her chair. How do you feel? I feel, HANA paused as if considering the question carefully. I feel grateful. I waited 200 years for someone to come. I had given up hope so many times, but you came, you and your father, you fixed me. You found the truth. You shared it with everyone. Ho entered the room. He had grown more relaxed over the past weeks. The weight he had carried for so long seemed lighter now. HANA, he said, do you remember what you said when we first arrived? When your systems were damaged and you could barely speak? I said many things. Most of them did not make sense. You said welcome home, Ho smiled. You said you always knew we would come. HANA's response came slowly. I was speaking for the people who built me, the scientists and engineers, the families who lived here. They believed that someday their descendants would return. They believed that the truth would not stay buried forever. She paused again. They were right. Yina stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, she could see ships from a dozen different species. Lights flickered across the station as teams worked through the night. Voices echoed through corridors that had been silent for so long. Her father joined her at the window. Do you think they will ever stop calling us scavengers? She asked. Ho put his hand on her shoulder. Some will, some never will. It does not matter. We know who we are now, and so does everyone else. Yina leaned against him. Mother would be proud. Yes, she would. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. A dying sun still burned in the distance, but it no longer seemed so lonely. New light surrounded it now. Human light. The light of truth finally revealed. Somewhere in the station, HANA played an old recording she had found in her archives. Music from Earth. A song about hope and new beginnings. It drifted through the corridors, and beings from across the galaxy stopped to listen. They did not understand the words, but they understood the feeling. And in that moment, in a forgotten corner of space that was no longer forgotten, humanity found its place among the stars. Not as scavengers, not as junior members. As partners, as creators, as dreamers who refused to let the truth die. Welcome home indeed.